that is the challenge. I agree with him, and that's where everybody's mindset should now focus on. How do we maintain this momentum we have just picked? You know, it is not just the time when 22 men size up in the field that football is played. No. Football definitely is played much earlier than that in terms of organization and putting in place a convenient atmosphere so that your team can excel. All this requires a lot of work, a lot of prudent managing. And Ibrahim has just said it, which is going to be, in fact, a new thing. Which is not quite, because I can't remember when we used to do that. Like, the footballers should be directly monitored. You know, they should have visits from GFF officials. Occasionally come to them and find out how are they faring in their clubs, and let them too have the feeling that, yes, I also belong to another setup in the Gambia where the whole nation is really behind us. That will give them a commitment to their nation, and they will always be keen to do their best whenever they put on that national jersey. It is very important. Now, of course, motivation. The players need also to be motivated. You know, we as a nation cannot do as other richer nations can do, but we can do to the best of our ability. And there comes in the government, the Ministry of Sports for that matter. As you know, FIFA only give $250,000 annually to the GFA and other national associations in Africa. Now, that is about $7 million or something like that. Now, that, in fact, FIFA would always say this is not for national team. This is for development of football in your country. This is not even for national team. So you find out that it comes back to government. Government is now responsible for funding the national team, mainly. Of course, the GFF, the federation, may also devise ways and means of generating funds through sponsorship and other things. And where they need funding, they can go to government to implement them. Now, in order for that to be available and be sustained, there has to be a very good rapport between the federation and the government. They must never be on the wrong side of anything. That has been an experience which, over the last 3 years, have undermined trust between the government and the GFF. You know, no matter who is right or no matter who's wrong, but it was not a healthy atmosphere because it is the game that suffers. That scenario must be avoided if we want to progress. Everyone should be on one side, because when it comes to the nation, you don't look at your considerations about Ibrahim. No. If Ibrahim is playing the football field wearing Gambian jersey, well, that's a different thing. I can pick up quarrel with him later in the evening, but that night I will support him. And this is the culture we should all adopt. So friendly matches also are very important. And the GFF had spoken that they already have interest in building relations with bigger footballing traditional nations in our region. For example, Ghana, Sierra Leone, well, of course, Sierra Leone, you might not say they are very strong, but Ghana, Nigeria, the Ivory Coast, Benin and other places. Sure that they can have an understanding, that can easily facilitate a friendly match between the two. I mean, if you bring in the likes of Michael Essien and all the big names, the Ghanaian squad, into Banjul, you suddenly see really a great atmosphere.
Yeah, great atmosphere, honestly.
Yeah. So if they could do those type of things, suddenly the momentum will gain further and further attention, and then the boys will grow in confidence. And as we go on, the Nations Cup qualifiers coming in January and beyond, we will gradually get to where we want to be. But this momentum must be maintained at all costs. It will help the GFF officials to lengthen their honeymoon, as I've said. The solidarity with the public will continue, and everyone will have a hope and belief, which is very necessary for survival of football in a nation.
Well, we'll be opening the lines. I believe our technicians will very soon scroll the numbers on the screens, on the screen for you to be able to call and have your say on the program like we always do. Ibrahim, there will be no competitive match probably up to next year for the Gambia. but I believe there will be international calendars. What do we do to make sure we maintain this positive start and make sure that we maintain our ranking going up?
Thank you very much. I think what we need first things first is we need to have the basic in place, that is a working tool as to how we will approach. For instance, when you asked the last time around, I did say the number one priority is the under 7th game. That is now in the back. Now what is important is how to conceptualize the document. The dynamic of the constitution has shifted from an association to a federation, and that makes it very complex. So that complexity needs to be well analyzed, and I think the soonest that the GFF sit together to know how to approach it. You can't do all the things at one time, but you should be in a position to show indications that this is what we want to do, and hopefully with time you will come to what you want. I think that's an area, and through that I think if like you come back to the structures, because if you put the structures, then the technical department will look into the technical programs. And the technical program now, if we want to bring back the fanship, the spectatorship into the game, we have to look at recognized oppositions. And now to find recognized oppositions, sometimes you look at the players' appearance fee. But there are organizations in the world who are that dedicate their time to organizing football matches for, for associations that haven't got the means to meet that. And I think the GFF are aware of that, and hopefully they will use it to their advantage. But first, like I said, you have to have the structures, and then you have the technical program, and then you follow the technical program. No one will doubt and underscore the fact that Lamin said you must organize test matches, because for now, wherever you go, some of the people are saying, "Can you play? When are we playing a game?" So it shows that they're interested. So if we can have a technical program, and the technical program include the players who haven't showcased their talents for Gambian football yet, they could come over. And then while we're having those test matches, the public will start to decide who should play on the national team, because they've been appearing. They start in comparison of the players previously. We cannot remain and depend on the usual suspects. There are a lot of players that, my understanding, they are playing in League One. Sawane is one of the best strikers that Gambia produced for now. Abdurrahman Damfa is playing in the French League, League One. You have, there are players, we were talking about Makumba Kani, we were talking about Joshua, we are talking about, there's a new player who signed for Man United.
That is
there are a lot of players
who
haven't even come to play for Gambia. What are we going to do? What are we going to put in place to approach those people for them to understand that they can come and play for Gambia? And other players who are playing in other leagues that are League One divisional teams, to make sure test matches featured different set of players. By the time we have a game, a CAF or FIFA game, then we would have been in a position to know the pool of players that we have, and then we can select from there. So basically, like I said, first things first, but can't dispute the fact that you must have test matches, but you need to understand it has it got its consequences and the financial consequences. So those are going to be put in place first.
I think what Ibrahim touched is very important, and that is also the new football structures that has been emphasized in this constitution, and I think he's right. That requires a lot of work, and of course there are new areas. Football has been here, GFA have been here since 1952, but this is the very first time that we have a constitution which now emphasizes a federation, which means that virtually giving the regions autonomy, semi-autonomy, to run their own leagues. This is completely new, and the GFF have a very, very, very important job to make sure that these structures are put in place. Because here and there you talk on the radio and people ask you, look, how do they select this national team? There's no player from Basi or from the regions. So if you don't come to the regions, you cannot say this is a national team. But you see, you cannot go to the regions unless the regions have a program where they will be competing and be showcasing talents, and these national scouts, rather the technicians who are working at the national level will go there and watch and scout these talents